So I decided to actually spend a little money so I could actually do this channel properly. One of the things I'm sort of picky about and weird on is that I always try to improve things. Whatever I do, however I do it, if I take a look at something, realize I didn't do it well, I'll do it again. And it also gives me an excuse to buy toys, so that helps as well. So I'm actually filming you on a GoPro Hero 4 Sessions, I think they call it, which is just a video camera. That's all it does. Although it does apparently do some stills, which I wasn't aware of when I was trying to record it the other day in Death Valley. So I do have some videos to post up, one of which will be my dash cam of what it's like to drive to Death Valley, which is a really cool place to visit. Although if you do go, fall, winter, spring, when things are colder here in the desert. But I wanted to record this right now because one of the things that I do, and one of my biggest pet peeves, and it's something that I do within IT. For years I've done security, and let's start off what I'm defining about as far as security is concerned. I'm not a coder. I'm not a hacker. I can read code decently and understand what most of it's doing, but if you ask me to write code or create code, that needs a lot of work. I haven't spent any time in a long time doing it. My younger years, I did self-teach myself things like HTML and PHP, which is simple coding. Very simple, not even coding, that's simple scripting. And still have a desire to do that kind of stuff. That hasn't changed. But that all said, I still have a strong interest in security, and in particular how people actually get compromised. When it comes down to it, in this day and age of the internet, the single most common way to get compromised, and it remains true, is social media, or not social media, sorry, what we call social engineering. Now, social engineering is a method or way in which to convince somebody that you are somebody else, and to convince them to use their computer to their advantage. We would more likely call it in a non-technical form a con job, and that's really what it is. One of my biggest pet peeves is a particular con job that comes out of a variety of call locations. The reality is that these guys mostly seem to come out of India or Pakistan and similar regions. But this particular one is one that drives me up the wall. I actually kept one of these guys on the phone for almost half an hour convincing him otherwise. I just received, before I started recording this, a call from a gentleman who claims he was calling on behalf of Windows. His name is Peter. Now, perhaps his name is Peter, but given his accent, I'm going to doubt it. I mean, Raj on the TV show The Big Bang Theory has a more milder accent than this guy did. Now, that said, let's deal with this first statement. I'm calling from Windows. Okay, it's not calling from Windows. You'd be calling from Microsoft, and it would be their OS division. It wouldn't be Windows. Windows as a company does not exist. Alright? That's number one. That's the problem with this. Or rather, number two. The second problem with this, or third problem rather, is that Microsoft is nowhere near this helpful. If your system gets compromised, they're not going to call you to tell you that. That's your responsibility as a consumer of their product. It's up to you to make sure that your environment is secure and safe. And so this is why you buy things like antivirus or anti-malware, anti-spyware, blah, blah, blah. The last time I got one of these calls, I actually told the guy that I don't use Windows, I use Mac. And he said, oh, well, this will work the same way. So what these guys are trying to do is they're trying to convince you to go to a particular site which will download computer controlling software. And it's not really a Trojan, so to speak, which is what we usually refer to in the security world as a piece of software that you download, execute, and inside there is computer controlling software. This is just straight out remote control. Now, this particular piece of software, once they have control of your system, they can then use it to A, infect your system, thus legitimately, helping you out all the time. B, use your system as ransomware, and therefore try to extort money from you. And C, potentially use your system as a method of attack against other systems. We call these botnets, where a computer system is taken over, usually in some type of automated fashion, and used in an automated fashion to attack other systems. Right? The problem with all of this stuff is, I'm technically aware, but given a recent report that came out at the end of last year that said in 2015 the number one password was 123456, and the second one was password, this tells me that we still have a lot of people out there who don't get the basics of computer security, or they don't think that their stuff is important. Here's the thing. This is your identity. This is what they're after. They're after the thing that makes you you. And if they get that, that's going to be costly. The last figure I heard, and granted this was from about 2000, was that it would cost you close to $50,000 court dates to be able to get your identity back if someone has taken it over, compromised it, spent money in your name, and then you have to prove that it wasn't you, and you have to get your identity back and restore your credit history, all for things that you didn't do simply because you answered the phone and a guy called Peter called from Windows. So rule of thumb, if somebody is calling from Windows or calling from Mac OS or calling from wherever, get them somehow to verify themselves. Get them to, whatever it is. More importantly, these companies are not that helpful. They have a global support for a reason. It's for you to call them when you're having a problem. They don't monitor your systems. There's no backdoors that they have on there, well, that we know of. And they're not that helpful. They make money when you call them for support. This is why there's forums everywhere that have people who are more than willing to help out someone who needs help. So, as an FYI, and keep your heads up, watch out for these trolls, because that's exactly what they are. They're out there trolling for your private information in hopes of using that against you and to make a few bucks along the way. So stay safe. Stay safe. Right. Did I tell you that I teach for a living and I actually apparently am quite coherent?